you can start using those pain points and that knowledge in your content very, very cleverly, and you can get people coming to you.
This is so extremely powerful.
I discovered the true power of this.
Drop the screen, up the human connection, be warm, be normal, be a good person, help people out, and I can promise you your business will grow.
Be the first one to comment on it, because then you will be seen even easier by your ideal audience.
They will start to leave comments on your posts. This is a way that you can actually magnetize clients to you.
How do you start attracting your ideal clients?
You don't need a massive audience for this.
I'd be working on these 10 people, commenting meaningful things.
So that's kind of the 101 there, I would say, on that. They say, okay, Helen, it's all well and good getting viral posts and getting loads of traction and having all these followers, but how do I get clients from that?
We are so excited to help you unlock LinkedIn's potential with our LinkedIn Starter Pack for lawyers. Across 11 chapters, we'll walk you through creating a profile that stands out, crafting content that connects, and building a network that works for you. It's designed to help you take your career or business to the next level. It's completely interactive, so it's not like reading a dull book on marketing. Go to the link in the description of this episode for more information. We're going to be talking about how to attract and close high value clients. If you missed our last session, which is about how to write content, how to write posts, how to build your profile, optimize your profile on LinkedIn, how to actually use LinkedIn. If you missed that episode, it's a podcast episode and the lives, and check it out, honestly, because we put so much into that. Now, this is like a follow-up, and we're going to cover stuff that we didn't cover in that first session, which is the stuff that the lawyers want to know about, isn't it, really? And people in general. How do you actually get business from LinkedIn?
That's exactly it. And I think that session was amazing. It was so full of value and we had so many questions and we went on for I think it was about an hour, but it really is just so full of value. And it's not normally stuff that we're able to go into that much detail in. So it is on the podcast, the More Than a Lawyer podcast. It's our secrets. Do go check that out. Since then, we've also released a shorter podcast, which was kind of a bit of a run up to this one, wasn't it, Holly? Which is again about closing clients. So, if you are really keen to build your profile, if you're keen to build this network and start leveraging off this gold mine that we are sitting on called LinkedIn, then you need to be listening to this stuff. It really is big stuff. So today we're going to go into this in more detail because I think this is the question that gets put to me a lot. They say, okay, Helen, it's well and good, all well and good getting viral posts and getting loads of traction and having all these followers, but how do I get clients from that? And so we're going to sort of bridge that knowledge gap for you, because this really is such a powerful way. Because if you think about it in the traditional sense, most people will not know you. So when you get invited to a pitch or when you go to a networking event, you're starting from ground zero and you're having to convince people off the bat that you are a great person, that you're an expert and they should hire you. This is a way that you can actually magnetize clients to you. It means by the time they're probably reaching out to you, by the time you're in a pitch or by the time you're talking to them, they are already bought into you. This is so extremely powerful. I just can't even put it into words.
I know. You know what? I discovered the true power of this when I started posting just a year ago. And then when I started posting about my podcast services for law firms, which was less than a year ago, it was probably I don't know, I want to say 7 months ago or something. And I would continuously put content out there about it. And then I went to a law event 6 months and people were coming up to me being like, you're the go-to person for law podcasts. I was like, whoa, this is when I truly saw the power in it. And I'm so bought into LinkedIn and the power of personal branding. And I'm so bought into it because I've seen it with my own eyes.
And not only, if I remember correctly, were they coming up to you and saying, oh my God, you're the girl with the Massive Law podcast. They were actually saying to you, can I be on your podcast? You are inundated with requests, right? We were talking about this. We're going to have to make an application form for the podcast because we get so many people reaching out. And we're talking big names in the sector, in the industry. We've even got names coming out, which is super exciting, which are outside of law, really impressive people. And it's they just literally call you up, don't they, Holly? I feel like I'm piggybacking off it, to be honest.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, let's not big ourselves up here. Let's actually talk about how we can actually help people do
Yeah,
it themselves.
yeah.
So, how do you start attracting your ideal clients? And I want to add like a little, not disclaimer, but like a little thing that you can do this without having a massive following. If
Mm,
you've got a few thousand connections, you can get clients, no problem. If you follow these steps that we're going to talk about,
yeah.
Helen, kick us off.
Right. So first of all, Holly's completely right. You don't need a massive audience for this. You do not need a massive audience. If you have 100 people in your network and they are the right people for you and they are ideal clients, you can undersell. You don't need 20,000, 30,000 followers. Like, we'll get onto that in a minute. Numbers can help for various different reasons, but you don't necessarily need that. I think, particularly lawyers, probably a lot of people don't realize is that actually, when you get to they think, okay, I'd like these people in my network, or that's my ideal client. So they think, how do I start talking to them? Do I just, connect with them, or do I send them a message? And I think all of these things are a little bit like we're sort of putting the cart before the horse. You wouldn't turn up to a networking event and just sort of walk up to someone and start talking to them without an introduction. Networking, whether it's in person or whether it's online, is always value led. So you're always thinking about, how can I help this person? How can I start to build a real, genuine, and deep connection with them? Now, if you just in-mail someone, that means you're not connected, but you send them a message. That message actually goes to like a different inbox, and chances are they won't see it. And also, it looks extremely pitchy. The way that I would do it is think about, who do I want in my network? Who are my ideal clients? Write them all in a list and start commenting on their posts,
Yeah.
or start liking their stuff, and start trying to get in that way, because then you become one of their supporters. If you start doing this and actually leaving meaningful comments and not being at all salesy, and you build up that relationship, they will most probably start to notice who you are. They will start reciprocating that. They will start to leave comments on your posts. At this point, then there will come a point where you can probably drop them a connection request and a nice note. And then once you are in that position, you can start getting into conversation with them. Don't get into conversation about anything salesy. It could just be, hey, it's great to meet you here. I love your posts, or I really like that one you did about cycling or mountaineering or whatever it is. And then you just have a nice chat with them. And it may not, and you've got to drop any idea of sales, because at this point, you actually don't necessarily even know what their challenges or pain points are. You're just thinking, I want your money. Drop that. Just completely drop that mentality. You've just got to be thinking, how do I get to know you? How do I deepen this relationship? So that's kind of the 101 there, I would say, on that. And just to mention as well, when I'm sort of jumping ahead slightly here, but once you build a strong brand and a big following, I did a post, for example, yesterday on LinkedIn. It was never a post that was going to go that viral. It was more to, talk about the things that I actually do in a business, and actually explain to people why it's of benefit to them. I had like some of the incredible top people connecting with me, in the US, in the UK. They weren't all in law, some were in finance, like people who I would never think would ever want to chat to me. And I'm literally putting like lol, ha ha in the comments to them. I don't have any intention necessarily of selling anything to them, but I'm amazed that those people are in my network, and that's just incredible. So that's sort of the starting point, which I think is to come from a completely non-salesy angle and just think about, how do I get all the right people in my network? How do I start deepening that relationship? How do I have those conversations with them? And that's your starting point. We haven't even spoken about posting yet. Holly, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I do actually. Before I add it, guys, if you've got any specific questions about getting clients or attracting clients or LinkedIn in general, then just let us know in the comments, please. We'll be happy to answer them. What I would add, Helen, is that you say get together a list of ideal clients. I'd be doing the same. I'd probably be working on 10 people, get together a list of maybe 10 people and put all my focus into those 10 people. And I'd be commenting on their posts. I'd be clicking the notification bell, so I was notified exactly when they post. I'd get an idea of when they post. Let's say it's every morning or every other day or whatever. And I'd start commenting on those posts, but putting meaningful, insightful comments on their posts, not just great post or love this.
Oh,
It's got to be
no,
it's got to be
none of
something.
that. None of that.
got to be a good perspective, you know, make sure it's interesting, make sure it stands out, because a lot of people will be saying stuff like great post or great tips or whatever.
Yeah.
So think about, how do you stand out to this person? Is it that your personality is to crack jokes, or is it that you want to add like a little bit extra detail to their post, perhaps something they've missed off, something that adds value? As Helen says, always think about how you can add value. By cracking jokes, you're actually adding value by entertaining them. I love it when I get jokes in my comments. It makes my day, except if they're from Helen, because they're not
I'm
that
so
funny.
easily pleased. Yeah, I leave loads of jokes in your comments, and you're not very nice to me.
Yeah, they're not that funny. You need to try a bit harder. Um, if it's Richard, on the other hand, or Jeffrey. No, I love the banter between you and Jeffrey in my comments. That's my favorite.
What, Richard and Jeffrey?
No, you and Jeffrey. When
I
you've got
didn't realise
banter.
there were that many bands.
Yeah. I've seen a few bands. I like it. I think he brings out the best in you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. If you're listening or if you're on catch up, we appreciate you.
Yeah. And Richard is always cracking jokes and stuff. Anyway, you're actually adding value to people. But if you're not like a jokey person, like Helen, not naturally a jokey person.
Oh my God. I've just seen Jeffrey's in the comments there. I've got someone on my side, I'm sure.
This is just cracking me up. Anyway, if you're like more of a serious person, or you want to add a bit more value in a different way, think about other things. You know, can you drop them a bit of knowledge? Can you recommend them a book on that topic? You know, things like this, things that will stand out. That's what I'd be doing. I'd be working on these 10 people, commenting meaningful things, and then eventually going to connect with them and moving these conversations to the DMs. That's the ultimate goal here. So yeah, Helen, we've got a really good question about the comments. I'm bringing it up. What thoughts do you have when they don't post at all? So when your ideal clients don't post? It's a very good question. I'll give my answer, and then Helen, I don't know if you've got any thoughts on this, but I'll give what I believe. So I would say that you need to look at, if your ideal clients are LinkedIn lurkers, they're not posters, they're people who are looking at the content but not contributing, then you need to think about who your ideal clients follow. So, for example, let's say your ideal clients follow me and Helen, for example.
Is that like a really, really bad plug for us? That's terrible, Holly.
No, this is just an example. So then you need to be seen in our comments. So if your ideal clients are looking at our post, then you need to be in the comments of our posts. Or like anyone, if your ideal clients are, I'm trying to think of an ideal client here. Can you think of one?
I've got a good example of this. I know there's quite a few people who sell into law, okay,
Yeah,
who will always comment on our posts, and it's a clever tactic. I mean, look, they get on with us. We're all in the same networks. It's all good, but it's a very clever thing to do, because most of my network is lawyers. So if you want to sell to lawyers, you probably want your face in the comments all the
yeah,
time and saying something meaningful and helpful. And then
yeah,
my audience would see your comments. So that's the way you need to think about it. It's like, who is your audience following? What are they looking at? And if somebody isn't posting, sorry, I don't mean to cut you up there, Holly, they're probably commenting on things, even if it's just a little bit from time to time. So that's
maybe.
another clue, isn't it, as to who they're following?
They're probably liking. Just like have a think about it. Let's say your ideal client is a lawyer and you think, okay, they're probably into this type of post. Go to the biggest creators in that area, in that niche area, in that industry. Take a look at the posts and see if they're liking, see who's commenting, see who's liking. And then you get a really good idea of if they are kind of following those types of posts, and then be the first one. And this is, you can be the first one by putting the notification bell on and being notified exactly when they first post. Be the first one to comment on it, because then you will be
Yeah.
seen even easier by your ideal audience. And then
Yeah.
you become them, and they look at you and they think, oh, I know this person, this person's familiar. So although they're not commenting on the posts and they're not engaging with you, they're seeing you, and they're seeing you as a familiar person, so that if you then go and contact them in the DMs privately, they know who you are because they've seen you about.
And And just to mention that as well, there's a really interesting hack you've got there, and I can see some of you in the comments are doing this. I'm going to name you because little superstars that you are. Emmy and Shahid are doing this really well. You've got profiles which make you stand out, your pictures. I can see Shahid's got like a yellow behind you. So you're very noticeable to me right now. And so's Emmy, kind of a blue background. I can see you're wearing some kind of suit. It's quite a small picture, but there's like a red rim. That's standing out to me. So even if it's in my subconscious, if you're commenting on something, if I was your ideal client and you're commenting every day, I'm seeing a yellow or I'm seeing a blue with a red rim, subconsciously, you're going into my awareness,
Yeah.
and that means that you're becoming something familiar to me. So by the time we do actually talk, I'm already going to be, warmed up to you. And I think that's a really key thing, isn't it?
That's a vital point. Absolutely vital. Nice one. Okay, our next point is about what do you do next? So you then go to the DMs and talk to your ideal clients. And like Helen says, you don't want to be talking about sales or trying to sell to them. If you send them a message about your services or whatever, they're just going to probably ignore you. You need to be creating meaningful conversations, meaningful connections. Maybe it's things that they've commented on, or maybe it's something you've seen them post about, like Helen mentioned, if they've run a marathon or whatever, like create a conversation with them and then start to gradually get into what are their pain points, what are the things that they need help with.
Yeah, I think first of all, it's about how do you slide into their DMs? Like, as Holly says, do not go and pitch slap them. If somebody writes to me and the first thing I see is they're trying to tell me about their services, if I'm connected with them, but we've never spoken before, I'm highly likely to disconnect. It's true.
Same.
It really annoys me. It really, really annoys me. I don't like it at all. And if that's the first thing you say to me in terms of trying to connect with me, I again am highly, highly unlikely to accept your connection request. So let's just take a little bit of a step back on this. I think you've warmed that person up. They've seen you around. They've seen you on the blocks, even if you're a lurker. They probably know who, you probably have a sense of who they are. And if your ideal client is someone who just likes posts, maybe it's difficult for you to actually make that initial conversation. But if they comment on something, you can always like their comment. You can comment back. Try to warm them up a little bit before you slide into their DMs. When you slide into their DMs, you need to say something meaningful to them. Only something very short. People, they don't know who you are, but something very warm and human. And this is where people get the platform really wrong a lot of the time. I think people think they need to sound like, I'm not saying don't sound professional here, but I think people sound too stilted. They don't sound warm. They sound boring. If I speak to most people, and you'll know this is true if I've recently connected with you, I'll often say, hi, great to meet you, or hi, so-and-so, great to meet you. What prompted you to reach out, or something like that? Because I'm like, okay, great, you've reached out to me, you're in my network, like, I'm really happy to meet you. Like, what's prompted this? That's if they've reached out to me. But it's this thing like, great to meet you. It's not just it's not something corporate and stilted. And if I'm reaching out to someone, I might say, hi, so-and-so, I hope you don't mind me reaching out. I'd really love to connect. I saw XYZ on your wall. Maybe you did a post, or maybe there's something about you, or you wrote a recent article, anything. You pick up on something, you just say, I really love that. I'm really inspired by your work. Be a privilege to be connected with you. Something that's just really warm and complimentary. Do not compliment people if it is insincere. On this point, go read How to Win Friends and Influence You, because appreciation is one of the most persuasive psychological tools you've got, but it needs to be genuine. So don't say anything that makes you look tacky or sleazy, but if you genuinely think that's a really cool thing, or you are inspired by that, tell that person that thing, because that will definitely warm them to you. And that's always a good start.
I just want to go back to the getting the kind of the problems out of them. Like, think about, obviously, after you're human and you have the conversations with them, the conversation can move on naturally onto how you could potentially help them, but don't go in with how can I help you. You go in with what are you, it depends what your service is, but like in a very indirect way, try and understand where they're struggling. So whether it's your services are, for example, financial services, like investment services, you can work out whether they have the time, the knowledge, the inclination to invest, things like this, and work out where they're going wrong or what their actual issues are with getting that service, basically. And you're obviously that solution. But The thing is, having these conversations is not, I'm not talking about having these conversations to lead to a sale. I'm talking about having these conversations to understand and gather information, because this is a way that you can attract your ideal clients more broadly, cast a wider net, i.e., on LinkedIn, because you can start using those pain points and that knowledge in your content very, very cleverly. And you can get people coming to you, so that you don't need to be having these conversations all the time with people, because and trying to like kind of chase them in a way, or trying to get to them. They're going to be coming to you at one point. So these conversations are vital. Even if you don't make any sales in the DMs, this information is highly, highly valuable to you, because it's going to be your long-term content strategy, right?
I think that's really, really key. And I think the other thing is, it could be potentially easy or difficult to get to that conversation in the DMs. Some people, you might get there very, very quickly. It's got to be natural. It can't appear salesy. The way I'll often chat to people is just say, oh, I'd love to know a bit more about, your business or whatever it is you do, in a really organic way. Then the chances are, if I ask them about them, they'll ask me about myself. And I'll say, this is how I help people and this is what I do. And then they might make a joke and sort of say, oh yeah, I could improve my LinkedIn, but some of it goes all right, some of it doesn't. And then I might say, for example, oh, okay, sure. What are your biggest challenges at the moment? You just ask them the question and it opens up. And I'm not sitting there trying to sell people something. Like if I can genuinely help people, and we have so many free resources, I'm so happy to do that. I'm so happy to be like, how could I genuinely help you? Maybe that person will one day be a client, maybe they won't. But that's the whole, I think it's the thing about just giving. You're not thinking about what you can take from people. You just think about how much value you can add. And then it might be that, if they happen to live near you, or if they happen to have offices near you, then you say, oh, it'd be great to have a coffee sometime. If they are some potentially really big client for you, I'm thinking particularly in the corporate, the legal sphere, then you have a chat with them. You start to build that relationship with them offline. And all the time you're learning about their pain points, about what affects them. As Holly says, this impacts your content strategy. This then draws more of those clients to you. So I think it's not about thinking, I need a quick sale from you. It's about thinking, how much can I help you? And the reality is, if you are good at what you do and you are helping people and you are truly adding value, then people will be drawn to you. And there's something in that as well, which is really key, which is it's something in the psychology of sales called the law of reciprocity. If you help people out, there is a psychological sort of law, I suppose, which says that people generally feel as though they then need to deliver or give back to you the same or greater than you've given to them. Now, I sort of believe in the laws of karma. I think, what goes around comes around. But the point is if you are giving, they're much more likely to bring something back to you. So, if you are giving them that extra, if you are going the extra mile, if you are, helping them out in different ways, it doesn't even necessarily need to be a business way. If they said, oh, I'm looking for a psychologist, and you said, oh, my best friend's a psychologist, I'll give you their number. It's ways in which you can be helpful, kind, and good. And that comes back to you.
Definitely. So should we talk about content and how you can attract your ideal clients with content?
Yeah. Do you want to do that one?
Yeah, sure.
I was like, I've done enough talking now.
No, like I was saying, what I would do is I'd be collecting the questions that people ask me, their struggles, their issues, their problems, their pain points, all this information. And I would be basically putting together content, LinkedIn posts based on the questions that I'm getting or the pain points. And you can do one issue per post. So don't chuck a load of issues into one post and just confuse someone. Let's say the pain point is they don't have enough time to do whatever. Then talk about that in a post and talk about it in a very, very clever way. What I normally do is I normally start with a story. So a story that relates to what I'm going to be talking about. And then I bring that story back to the reader to show them that the solution is something that I provide. So you start with a story, you explain what the pain point is, you aggravate that pain point. I'm talking, you make it worse. I don't know how to explain aggravate that pain point. Can you explain that, Helen?
I think it's basically that what you're doing through storytelling is you're helping people understand more about what their problem is. When we
Yeah.
often have a problem, we don't have the objectivity to understand really necessarily what the problem is or how what the solution looks like. So I think what Holly's talking about is like telling a story to say, there's somebody else here who's kind of in your position. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's me. That's my problem. And
Yeah.
then you just weave in how you can perfectly solve that problem. It's a little bit like, I think, the 1950s housewife. Sorry if this is in any way pejorative, but, I think the husband's always like, what a great idea I have. And she's been planting that for weeks, It's that kind of
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That rings a bell. That really, that situation, that reminds me of you.
idea. Which side of it? What, wait, do you plan stuff for me?
I planned stuff in your head and then you come up with it like it was your idea all
I
along, and I'm
do.
like, "I would literally told you that 2 weeks ago."
Yeah, I do that all the time, actually. Yeah, I try and take the credit for
You
it.
do, yeah, you do, I've noticed. So, but yeah, and then you turn the content round and provide you as the solution,
Yeah.
and if you do this consistently, then you're bound to have people come to you and be attracted by your content because you're talking to them directly about problems that they need to solve and that they want an answer for. And if you are always popping up as the solution to that problem, then over time, people are going to start coming to you basically.
They absolutely are. And I think that just to sort of rewind as well, I'm aware we're sort of coming up to time, but Holly made a point earlier on about focusing in on 10 clients. I mean, look, you can have a longer list and be connecting with more people. And your sort of connection strategy is key in the sense that you need to be basically cultivating your own super powerful 24/7 networking room. You have got these people here 24/7. This is the most powerful thing you can do to build your brand and to win clients in 2024. How more people are not switched on to this, I do not know. But if you are, for example, trying to close sales in quite a short amount of time, or you're thinking, I do actually really need to build up my client base, actually you want to focus in on fewer and get into conversations with fewer, but you'd be trying to sort of find the hints of who are the people who are actually warm to what you're wanting to do. The more you build your brand, the more you build your profile and you're known for this stuff, you'll have people reaching out to you who are sort of like lukewarm leads saying, oh, I quite like what you do, but I'm not really sure. That's an ideal person to start talking to, so it's not completely cold. So this is kind of a bit like the flywheel effect. At first it's going to feel like you're pushing a massive wheel and maybe you're not getting very far, but once that wheel starts spinning, it gets faster and faster. You get better known for what you do. Then people are coming to you, you're having really great conversations, you're closing clients, and you're probably turning people away because you can't actually you can't talk to that many people all at once.
And what would you say about closing the client? So you've spoken to them, you've connected with them on a personal/human level. You've posted content that are touching on their issues and solving problems for them. How do you basically close them as a client and get a high value client through this method?
Well, I think the thing to think about is, actually like when sales is done well, or when you're actually just helping someone, solve their problem, it doesn't feel like sales. If they genuinely have a problem and you're able to offer a solution, it should feel easy. Like I don't personally believe in being too pushy or anything like that. I think, it's got to be the right fit and it's got to feel right for them as well. I think closing high value clients just simply through DMs is extremely difficult. Personally, I would try and get people off the DMs. I mean, I'll often, just generally speaking, I'm not just talking about sales now, but I'll often voice note people in the comments because, and I have really lovely people in my network who I've known for years now, never met them, never spoken to them on the phone, but we'll voice note each other, people in the US, people in Australia. Like when I can hear their voice and actually feel like I'm chatting to them, that's really lovely and that deepens that connection. If I was really trying to win a client and it was high value, I'd be saying, let's jump on a video call, have a Zoom coffee. Even better, let's have a coffee in person. Like, you're not going to land £1 million deal based off 10 amazing DMs. This is none of this Instagram rubbish, which is like, have a 7-figure business in 12 hours. Like, come on, guys. Come on, let's be real. This is LinkedIn. But I think it's that thing where stop thinking about what you can get and always be thinking about how you can deepen that relationship. I'll give you a really good example of this. I have clients who say to me, oh, I'm starting a new job, and how do you think I should hit the ground running from day one? And I'll say, okay, well, who interviewed you? Okay, maybe several different partners at the firm. And I'll say, Okay, well, have you texted or emailed every single one of them and invited them out for a coffee before you start? Oh, I wouldn't want to do that. Oh my gosh, no, I wouldn't want to put myself out there. And I'm thinking, well, hold on a minute. You want to be warming these people up with real, deep, meaningful connections before you even start. Like, start as soon as you can. If you can get someone for a coffee, bring them in. For some reason, lawyers, they want to hide behind emails, hide behind text. I can promise you, as long as you are hiding behind some sort of screen, you are not putting yourself out there. Drop the screen, up the human connection, be warm, be normal, be a good person, help people out, and I can promise you your business will grow.
Nice. I think those tips are absolutely golden.
David Head has said, do you both upgrade to LinkedIn Premium? How does it help in BD? Honestly, I don't think it's ever done anything for my BD. I think I got a deal about 2 months ago. It was like, you can get premium for £11. And I thought, oh, go on then. Go on then. £11. And now I think they're charging me more. Honestly, it adds zero value to my life, except today. I had about 30 seconds of fun while I went through and I was like, oh, look who's been looking at my profile. But honestly, I mean, that can be useful, by the way. That can be a useful thing. Because if you see people looking at your profile,
Correct.
then actually that's a good way to work out, oh, they're interested in me. That can be a really good method. It's not something I always do, actually, but that can be a really powerful way of doing that.
That would be the only reason why I would have premium.
Yeah.
I don't have it, but the only reason why I would have it is to see who's looking at my profile and then message them because they're obviously interested in me.
Yeah.
So I would send them a message. Basically, that's an easy way in, isn't it? Because you know who's interested in you because you can literally see who's looking at you. That's like being in the street and someone's interested in you and they're looking at you and you can be like, hey, what do you want?
They're probably just looking at the fact that you've got something on your top, you know, like you've spilled something.
Yeah. Be like, hey, what you're looking at? We've got another question at the bottom. Do you think personal branding might play an important role in grabbing clients' attention? 100%. There's no doubts about it.
Let me explain something. We haven't mentioned the term personal branding that much on this call because for some reason we've found that lawyers switch off with it. They think, oh, you know, personal branding, I don't know. It's a bit of a weird thing, but everything we're talking about is personal branding. Your LinkedIn profile is your personal brand. You talking to people is you promoting your personal brand. Everything you do, everything you say is
correct.
your personal brand. So, by the way, please don't pay people to do your comments for you. Please don't use AI to leave silly comments, which is like, great post, because we see through you and people know. But I think, you know, like, think about it. Like, your most valuable asset is your reputation and your personal brand. Everything we are talking about here is creating a super magnetic, super powerful personal brand, which will attract clients and will help you win clients. So yeah, all of this is personal brand. Do you have anything to add to that, Holly?
Yeah, no, you're spot on. That's it, really. I mean, everything is like what people see you as, what you're positioning yourself as, even without realizing it. That's your personal brand.
We have a community. We're going to be in the community every day. You know, you're going to be able to put your posts up there, get thoughts, get comments, work out why things haven't worked. What are you doing wrong? What are you doing right? Okay, your post went okay, but how do you make it really fly? How do you want to make it viral? We're all going to be there supporting each other in the community. That's us, that's everyone else in the cohort. But like, this is the easiest and the most cost-effective way to get access to us. Like, there's never been anything to this point which is quite so optimal in that sense, and I don't think there will be again. I really can't recommend it more in the sense that we're doing something that we truly believe in here, and we want to succeed, so we are going to put everything into it. Honestly, the amount of value you're getting for that is insane, and it pains me slightly that I've spoken to some people, like even law firms, who are saying, oh no, you know, we don't see the value in that, but then, you know, they'll pay for something like £1,000 a blog, and I'm thinking, no one's reading it. You know, in a few years time, not even years, I think in about 12 months time, we're going to see the real winners emerging on LinkedIn in law. We still haven't properly seen that yet, I don't think. We're going to see the people with big brands, big profiles, bringing in big clients and huge money, you know, and then it's going to be very difficult for other lawyers to catch up. Like, this really is the window.
I would agree. This is a final question before we end. So, and it's a really good question from Jeffrey. Other than pitch slapping, What is another common mistake you would see that you should avoid?
I've got a really good one.
Go on.
Oh God, it's one that happened to me yesterday. Okay, right. This is something that happens to me every now and again, and I don't know if it's because I'm a woman. I don't know if men get this as well. It's the whole, "Hi, Helen. Great to meet you. Let's have a chat."
Yeah.
Um, okay, lovely. Thanks so much, so and so. Great to meet you. What would you like to discuss? And if this person's watching now, you'll know it's you. Opportunities. Okay, well, is it opportunities in connection with my LinkedIn or personal branding, coaching? And it's like, no, just thought it'd be nice to talk. So on the one hand, you sound a bit creepy, and on the other hand, it's just really vague, you know? I'm sorry, it sounds brutal to say it, but I get it quite a lot, and I don't know if it's just being a woman, and I don't think it's I actually don't think it's okay. But if you are wanting to talk to people, be specific. Don't waste people's time, and don't just say let's chat. Busy people, you may actually not be meaning that in any kind of nefarious way, but
Mhm.
busy people don't have time. So you've got to make it worth their while. Just that let's chat or let's catch up is, for somebody who's extremely busy or somebody who has a huge profile on the platform, they don't have time. And also you yes.
You know what? A lot of people say this to me. They say, "Oh, hi, Holly. This is the first ever message." And usually, sometimes they're not connected with me. And I'll say, "Hi, Holly. Can I pick your brain about X, Y, and Z?" And I'm just like, my brain is very precious and I do not give it out generously.
If we look at this from a psychological perspective, what they're doing is they're asking to take from you. Always lead with value. Don't go in there saying, "Can I pick your brain? Can you give me something? Can I have something from you?" Don't start on that basis of take. Everyone's out there for themselves. Be out there trying to give. I can promise you, the more you give, the more you will get. So I think just avoid anything which is too vague, avoid anything which is asking for favors when you don't know someone, avoid pitch slapping, all of that kind of thing. Just like be a good person, but lead with value and lead with warmth.
That's the take home message. If you do anything, just please, for goodness sake, lead with value. Give, give, give. What's that thing that Gary Vee says? Helen, take it away.
It's the jab, jab, jab hook method. The idea is you give, 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 and only then you ask.
Beautiful. We'll end it on that note.
Ollie, we just got one. Sorry, I'm just going to put it up.
I'll read it. You say it. Will there be? I feel like I'm at school reading off the board.
It's literally like that, isn't it?
Yeah. Will there be one-on-one sessions available to help identify and address any problem areas along the way? I'm guessing this is within the academy, right?
Yeah. I think that we haven't worked out exactly yet. I mean, what will be included. The reality is we want everybody to do really, really well. We will certainly be looking at everybody's posts and giving, one-to-one feedback, explaining why we think things have failed, explaining how we think things could be better. Whether that will be in the format of like any additional sessions with us, or maybe it'll be a case of, submitting a post in, we'll give detailed feedback on that. I'm sure we will be giving a lot of extra, because the reality is if you don't understand why things aren't working for you, you can't get better, and we want you to get better. So, there will be a lot of support. I can see, Shahid, you just asked a question about early LinkedIn journey and mistakes along the way. I feel like we've covered that, haven't we,
We
Holly?
have covered it. I'll send you a link. To it, but we have.
If you want to join us in the academy, we would genuinely love to see you there. We are really excited about this. We're going to be giving a lot of value.
We are so excited to help you unlock LinkedIn's potential with our LinkedIn Starter Pack for lawyers. Across 11 chapters, we'll walk you through creating a profile that stands out, crafting content that connects, and building a network that works for you. It's designed to help you take your career or business to the next level. It's completely interactive, so it's not like reading a dull book on marketing. Go to the link in the description of this episode for more information.